So, very good evening, all of you. So, today we are here for the orientation of the sociology test series. So, that means there is an assumption that all of you have completed your preparation, right? Or maybe you are in the phase of your preparation of the optional subject, right? So, how many of you have completed your preparations with respect to the optional? Completed? Completed, and you? Not yet complete. So, in the process or in the process? So, how are you doing it? Paper one part. And the approach, like what sources are you referring to? Classes notes you have. Okay, great. So, and you have completed the preparation, and you also completed, right? Great. So now exactly why we are here with the test series is, so why is it important at this point of time to start with the test series? So we can generally prepare otherwise also by ourselves, but why does the test series become very important? Yes, so definitely for the practice purpose. Just 1 second. So now we are in the month of September. So that means we have roughly around 8 months to the prelims part. So however, we cannot be doing it forever. The preparation of the mains only cannot be done for a long time. So now that we are in the starting of September and we have time roughly till January. So this is where you have to be ending your entire optional preparation. After that, you can start with your full-fledged prelims preparation. And what is the most important thing when it comes to optional? Not just the sociology optional as such, any optional you take for that matter. Optional is the most scoring area of the mains preparation, and it is optional which can actually decide whether you are going to clear or not. If you are clearing, with what rank you are going to clear, that is where optional becomes very important. So optional is where you can expect anywhere in the range of 270 to 300 with the current trend. The GS scores, if you see, on an average you are going to end up scoring 400 to 420 across 4 papers, and this is where you end up scoring roughly equivalent to 3 papers of the GS papers, and that means this is something on which you have to be focusing more, and it can actually give you rewards. How much efforts you put, it will give you equivalent rewards also in return. So that means putting effort here is actually going to matter, and for that we need to put sufficient amount of effort, because optional is not something which you can do it like GS. Somehow we cannot do it. Optional requires in-depth knowledge, and it requires good amount of content also, and if you can have that, acquire that knowledge, and if you can replicate in your answers, you can expect the results also accordingly, and that means you need some time to do it. So now if you start September, October, November, December, and some time or some part of January. So you get roughly around 5 months. So this 5 months is something which is very crucial in terms of your preparation, not for the prelims but more mainly for the mains, and more specifically with respect to the optional, because by the time you start your prelims somewhere around January or February, you will start feeling the prelims pressure, and once you start your prelims preparation, more or less you're not going to go back to the optional again. So you will be in the mindset that let me first finish the prelims, let me clear prelims, then I will think of the optional. And what happens here is that once you start your prelims preparation, your optional will take a back seat, and after the prelims you will not have that much time to do anything with the mains part. The only thing you can do is you can revise, you can write the test. For that you should already have the knowledge. If you have the knowledge, if you have the content, you know how to write answers, then you can work on multiple revisions and writing answers and being able to complete the paper on time with quality answers. But that requires lot of groundwork. You have to be doing that at this point of time, and if you can do that, you can actually expect the results. Have you guys seen the paper? Yesterday we had the optional test, right? The main. Have you guys seen the paper? What was the nature of paper? How was it? More or less it is based on the syllabus only, and lot of repetition of questions also. So what is it telling us? there is more predictability. Unlike the other papers, be it the prelims or the mains GS papers, we have lot of predictability here. If you really put in effort, get a good hold on the syllabus and practice the PYQs properly, you can actually expect good results. So that is where putting that effort can actually reap you proportionate benefits. So something which you can actually do with respect to prelims, no matter how much you prepare, in terms of the outcome, you can hardly expect any predictability. So maybe if you have prepared for 100 topics, you might get 5 topics from those 100 topics in the prelims. That is not how it is in the mains. If you prepare 100 topics, you can expect at least 30 topics coming from those 100. That is how the predictability is. And that is exactly why we have the test series here. And more specifically, why I have specifically designed it in a particular way. So if you see the timetable, what is the design here? Have you guys gone through the timetable? So first thing is, every test has a gap of 12 days. So why 12 days? So that you don't have to be overburdened with the preparation. You need to balance your preparation. You have to prepare for both the GS as well as the optional. And along with that, you should also be practicing the essay also. So that means in a day, you cannot be giving the whole day for only optional. If you can promise a span of 3 to 4 hours in a day consistently, you will be able to comfortably finish the topics. So if you see here, what are the topics we have? Sociology, the discipline, sociology as science, research methodology, and one thinker. And this is something that we have it as a part of this timetable. What is the new thing? So we do not have the thinkers chapter as a whole one test, because as you know, the social thinkers is one of the most lengthiest chapter, and also the chapter having huge weightage. So if you see the paper, you can expect at least anywhere around 80 to 100 marks directly from the thinkers, and indirectly more content. For a lot of questions you can still be applying. So the more slower you do it, the more you will be able to get a hold on that. That is why what we have done with the timetable is, we cover 2 or 3 important topics with one thinker, so that it doesn't become overburdening for you. You will be doing it gradually. So 3 chapters plus one thinker. So roughly if you can give 3 days per topic, 2 days or 3 days, you can easily finish one chapter and one thinker also. So that way in 11 days, you can easily finish the syllabus and give the test also. So see the topics: perspectives of Indian society, impact of colonial rule on Indian society, tribal community, one thinker. So that way we have uniformly distributed. It should not become overburdening for any one particular test. So the topics have been evenly distributed, and wherever we have overlapping, those topics have been clubbed also. Society and politics, politics and Indian society, similar chapters clubbed together with respect to both religion and society, religion and Indian society, system of kinship in India, so that whatever is overlapping, you can do it quickly, so that you will not have to read it twice, the same things. So that is something which we have tried to do with the syllabus. So this way you will be able to do it integratedly. So why it is very important to do it integratedly where it is overlapping? Because you need to be able to write the answers more broadly. Just because a question is coming in paper 1, it doesn't mean we will not use the content of paper 2 in paper 1, or the other way also. If suppose a question is coming on system of kinship in paper 2, there is no rule that you should not use any thinker of paper 1. You can definitely use the paper 1 thinkers also. In fact, this year if you have seen the paper, in paper 2 they have asked a question on the contribution of G.P. Murdoch with respect to kinship. Now G.P. Murdoch is a thinker which we study in paper 1, not paper 2, but they have asked a question in paper 2. Similarly, few years back, they had asked a question on Iravati Karve's kinship system in paper 1, not in paper 2. So they also try to interchange the questions, and they expect you to interlink the concepts also. That is why we have tried to design the test series in that way, so that you will also learn how to interlink the topics from paper 1 and paper 2 as well. And parallel you will be doing one thinker slowly along with them, so that the thinkers chapter will not become burden for you. And thinkers chapter is not something you should try to study in one go. You have to do it gradually. The more gradual you do, the more it will be able to, you will be able to understand it and remember it better also. So that is the idea. And we have designed in such a way that you will be able to complete the whole of the syllabus by mid of December. So starting from now, September 1, September 1st, if you can give 3.5 months consistently, you will be able to do the whole paper once properly, including paper 1 as well as paper 2, 12 days per each of the test. And what is the idea with the test? So what should be your approach? So we have here 2 rounds mainly, 3 rounds altogether. First round you will have all the sectional tests and then 2 rounds of full length tests. So in the second round, starting from the last of December and January, by end of January, you will be able to complete one more revision also. Basically the idea is by end of January, you should be done with 2 rounds of good revision so that you can confidently start your mains prelims preparation. So how you can do is till December you can give full-fledged time for the mains preparation only. January onwards you will start preparing for prelims also. Part of the day you can keep it for optional. Whatever you are doing with respect to GS mains, those things you can try to wind up by December end and start with your prelims preparation of GS. And maybe in a day 3 to 4 hours you can still continue with the optional, so that by end of January you have to be completely ready with your optional preparation, and then you can start comfortably with your prelims, full-fledged prelims from February onwards. So that is the approach that we will be following here. What is expected from you guys? How are you going to do it? So when we start with the sectional tests, so what is expected from you people? So in sectional tests, the main expectation is, one, you complete the syllabus. This is the fundamental thing. Irrespective of any topic, completion of syllabus is the most important thing, because as we have seen, and we'll also try to see the yesterday's paper also, syllabus completion is the most important thing. 80% of the questions come directly from the syllabus only. There will be very few current affair based questions. So once you get a good hold on the syllabus, more or less you will be assured of completing the paper. So first round your focus should be completing the syllabus properly, and second, you have good conceptual clarity. See, unlike GS papers, in optional, especially in sociology, we have lot of particular concepts and they expect you to have a good conceptual clarity. If by chance while explaining a concept, you get confused or mix up 2-3 concepts, it will easily send a message to the evaluator that you do not have conceptual clarity. And even if that happens in 1 or 2 questions, it can set a wrong precedent for other answers also. Maybe if your third answer is not very good answer, you have written conceptually wrong things, evaluator will be checking the other answers also with that approach mindset only, that this person might not have good conceptual clarity. So making sure that you have good conceptual clarity is the most important thing that you have to be doing here. So completing the syllabus with good conceptual clarity and then having the notes ready. So this is the next important thing that you will be doing, making sure for every topic you have the notes. Now some of you might have taken the classes, some of you might done self-study, however you have done. So making sure that you have the notes ready. Preferably I will suggest you have your own handwritten notes. Even if you are making a short notes, like 1 or 2 page notes for each of the topic, having a handwritten notes will be very important. So what you can do is, if you have your class notes, you can make a short notes out of that only, or if you have referred to multiple standard books, try to make a small notes out of that itself, because before the exam you cannot be going through the whole of the standard book, 500 or 1000 page book. So if you have your handwritten short notes like 100 or 200 page notes, that you can revise quickly. So by the end of the first round you will be able to complete the notes, complete the syllabus, have good conceptual clarity, make some notes, and suppose for a particular topic if you feel you haven't studied sufficient, you do not have sufficient content, or you need more content, you can also do value addition here itself. Okay, so our main agenda of the first round is to fulfill these things. Okay, complete the syllabus, have good conceptual clarity, have your notes ready, and do value addition. Suppose let's say you have studied the topic of lineage and descent, you only have one page of content or one para of content. Now there can be a question for 20 marks. So for a 20-mark question, you need 3-page content. So you know that now you know about the concept, but you do not have sufficient content. So in the first round itself, you have to make sure you do little bit of additional reading. Whatever sources you guys want, I will be suggesting. That is not a problem. But you have to make sure for every topic you have 3-page worth content. You have to assume that any topic can be asked for 20 marks. And for every topic, you have to make sure you have 20 marks content. Wherever you feel the content is less, make sure you do additional reading now itself in the first reading. So this is something you have to be focusing on in the first round. And along with that, you can also do quick revision as well. So how are we going to do quick revision also? So for every test we have 12 days gap. So what you are going to basically do is try to assume that you have 10 days of gap, not 12 days. So try to finish the syllabus in 10 days, keep 1 day, because here we have any small topics only. So you don't need like 3-4 days for revising. So 1 day before the exam, you keep it for revision only. So if the first exam is on 12th, assume that the exam is going to be on 11th. So try to complete the syllabus by 10th. 11th you keep it for revision. Try to do one quick revision and then give the test on 12th. Okay, so that is the approach that you will be doing for the first round. So if you can do this by the end of first round, that is by mid of December, so more or less you will be in a very good position. Now coming to the second round. The second round is mainly the full length tests, the FLTs. So here what we are going to focus is more on one, working on the speed, and second, exam experience, that is being able to write for 3 hours. So not just having the content is sufficient, you should also be able to write the exam in 3 hours sitting in one place. And when it comes to the actual exam, you need to write for 6 hours. The same day you will have 2 papers. So what we are going to do is, in the full length we will have 2 rounds. One round we will have 15 days gap for each of the tests, is 15 days, so that you study the whole paper and give the test 2 times, and immediately after that we will have one more round of full length test where you will be writing 2 papers back to back on the same day, so that by end of January you should be completely exam ready also. Even if you cannot write very good answers, you have to be able to write it and experience the exam pressure, how you are going to face it, what difficulties you might face, whether you can remember all the concepts or not. All these things you have to be ready with. So that is the main aim here. Work on the speed and focus on the exam preparation, and finally the revision. So here you will also be able to do your second round. In a way it will be like a third revision. In the first round itself you would have done 2 revisions, one proper reading, second quick revision. Here it will be like again a proper revision. So by the end of the test series, you have to be ready with 3 rounds of revision, and whatever gaps are there, you can easily fill it in this phase itself, making sure you are not left with anything untouched. So this will be the main agenda of the test series. What can we expect from the test series? What can you expect? So what you can expect from the test series? One is the quality questions. When it comes to the questions, you will be getting both the type of questions. One is the basic questions and the other is the difficult questions, slightly difficult questions, which will be like the either application based questions or the analytical questions. Now when we see the questions, we'll see the questions also. I'll show you. Usually there will be 2 broad type of questions. One is like the basic questions, direct conceptual questions. They will ask what are the characteristics of historical materialism, what is the concept of alienation. Direct questions, if you know the concept you can write it straightforward. This year we saw a lot of questions, direct questions. The second type of questions will be not very difficult as such, but it will be more of application based questions. They ask you to what extent you can apply this concept in the modern day. To what extent can we apply Durkheim's suicide theory in the modern day? To what extent can we apply Weber's idea of bureaucracy in present day? So these kind of application based questions or analytical questions. How far do you agree? Marx is right with respect to his view on capitalism. What is your opinion on Talcott Parsons' idea of social system? These kind of questions where they ask your opinions, your analysis, where you cannot just write the concept and leave it. When the question is direct, when they ask you what is historical materialism, you can just explain the concept and complete the answer. But when it comes to application based questions, you cannot just write the concept and leave. You have to talk about the application part also. That is where you need little bit of more thinking. Now we'll try to cover both the type of questions. One, making sure that your concepts become strong. Second, you also work on the application based questions. And here you will be getting regular feedback, like I'll be checking the answers myself. So I'll be giving you regular feedback. So you will be getting detailed feedback both in the form of the written evaluation and then oral feedback also. After each of the tests you can come for the mentorship. I'll be giving you the feedback. So I'll be helping you with respect to both the things. One, how to write or how to strengthen your concepts. Second, how to write questions which are application oriented. And third, the analytical questions. So usually what we see is some questions will be very much direct, conceptual questions. So here once you have studied, you will not find it any difficulty to write the answer. But these are the areas where you will actually find it difficult. Especially when the questions are analytical in nature, you will find it difficult how to analyze the concept. They will ask you analyze, critically evaluate, to what extent this theory holds good, to what extent this theory is valid in the modern day. These kind of questions where you find it difficult, I'll be explaining with the evaluation, how you are going to write your answer, how you are going to structure your answer, all of those things. And next, the application based questions. So what do we mean by this application based questions? The questions will be direct, like a GS type of question. The question will not ask about any particular topic or the thinker. It will look more like a GS question. It can be like question on the informal sector, or question on gig economy, or there can be a question on artificial intelligence. They can ask to what extent AI has impacted the nature of work in the modern day, to what extent digitization is impacting the family in modern day. These kind of questions where you can easily write a GS type of answer but not a sociological answer. So that is where I'll guide you how you can make your answers more sociological. How are you going to bring all the thinkers, and how you are going to bring all the concepts that we study in the sociology. So that is something which you can expect. And apart from that, the general approach with respect to answer writing, how you are going to understand the demand of the question, how you are going to structure the answers, how you are going to present it neatly with a limited space and time. All these things will be discussing in detail. So this is what you can expect from the evaluation part, regular evaluation. And apart from that, you will also have like direct one-to-one mentorship. So mostly I will be available on all 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday. You will be getting regular mentorship availability, both offline and online mode. Those who are taking it online in online mode, it will be available in online. And those who are here only in Bangalore, you can directly come to the institute. I will be available. So that is something you can expect. And apart from that, there shall also be the discussion videos. So for every test, more or less you will be able to get whatever is required in the form of one-to-one mentorship only, but otherwise also there will be the discussion videos. For every test, I will be making a discussion video for the whole test and uploading it. It will be available in your portals. You can watch the video also. So for any value addition, or if you have any doubts with the structuring of the answer, anything with respect to that, how to write an introduction, what can be written in the introduction, all of those things I will be explaining. How to structure your answer, what could have been written in the introduction, what can be written in the body, the conclusion, all those things I will be explaining with respect to the discussion videos. So that is something which you can expect with the test series. And apart from that, finally, we shall also have value addition content with respect to the test series. So now what we are going to do is with respect to all the topics, whatever value addition content can be given, so I'll be providing that. So we'll have a Telegram group where I'll be posting it regularly. So one of the value addition thing will be the mind maps. So mind maps are basically the pictorial representation where I'll try to bring all the things in one place. Like for example, if it is Karl Marx, the whole of Karl Marx will be brought in one single place, in one single image, so that you can revise the entire Marx in just one slide. So that is something that I'll be providing you as mind maps for all the major thinkers, all the 6 thinkers, and paper 2 major thinkers, M.N. Srinivas, G.S. Gore, all of those thinkers, and also with respect to other chapters also. So for example, with respect to politics and society, all the different theories that we have, the functional elite theories, the functional theory, conflict theory, for all those kind of theories where multiple theories are there with one single concept. So all those things I'll try to bring in one page and will be providing you so that you can revise that whole of thing in just like 5-10 minutes. So once you get to see that, you will get an idea how exactly it will work. Okay, those mind maps. And apart from that, I'll also try to provide you additional topics also. Suppose for example, you are studying the chapter of politics and society, or let's say religion and society. You have studied 3 or 4 thinkers. Maybe there is a new thinker, another thinker who has also spoke about it. Maybe some latest thinker who has made a significant contribution, but you have not come across them. So those kind of new thinkers or new concepts I'll be trying to add on. For example, when it comes to, let's say, the topic of stratification, the general thinkers that we study with them are, who are the thinkers that we study with stratification? Max Weber. Then which other thinker do we study in stratification chapter? Yes, Karl Marx. Yes, Karl Marx also talks about stratification. And with respect to theories, important people are structural functional theories given by Kingsley Davis and Wilbur T. Moore. Like these are the common thinkers most of the students will be studying. Now apart from that, if there is any new thinker who has given a new perspective, for example, Deepankar Gupta. Now Deepankar Gupta is mainly a thinker of paper 2, not paper 1. But Deepankar Gupta has written a very important article on stratification, which gives a completely new perspective. Now that is something I will be giving you, like a value addition, which can give you a new perspective. In general, like 8 out of 10 students will be writing the common thinkers: Kingsley Davis, Wilbur T. Moore, Max Weber, Karl Marx, etc. So how will your answer stand apart from the other thinkers? So that is where I'll try to constantly keep providing with every topic, whichever new concept is there, whichever less known thinker is there who has made a significant contribution, those kind of value addition things I'll be providing. And apart from that, there will also be content with respect to current affairs. Now there might be lot of current affair topics which can be asked in exam, which are usually not part of the syllabus. Now syllabus doesn't mention anything about the artificial intelligence or the gig economy or the other concepts which might be in the news of late. Now those kind of topics also we'll try to cover. Like I try to give you like a broad write-up, how or what type of content you can write, like a 1-page write-up on those kind of topics, including all the important thinkers, all the important concepts, etc., which you can be using in your answers. So it's like a ready content for some of the important current affair topics. So those kind of things also we'll try to add on. Now for example, in the last few years, the migrants, especially the internal migrants, the informal sector migrants have become very important in news, especially post-COVID. And immediately after the COVID, there was a question, and this year also, they have asked the question, what are the problems faced by migrants? So those kind of topics, which are usually not covered as a part of syllabus and which are very much in use, for those kind of topics, I'll give a brief write-ups so that you will have some content ready for those topics also. So that is something you can expect in the test series itself as a whole program. And in general, if you get any other doubts also, suppose you're not able to understand a particular concept, if you're not able to get any good source, any problems that you might face, maybe you want to make notes but you are not aware, or you are finding it difficult how to make notes or how to manage your time, which sources to refer to, anything as such, you can comfortably ask and get those doubts clarified as well. So that is something that you can expect with the test series as a whole. Okay, any doubts you guys have? So I'll show you. We'll just have a quick look at the previous yesterday's paper. So this is yesterday's paper, paper 1. So now if you can see here, so what are the type of questions that have come? If you see the first question, what does the question say? What is common? Is it visible clearly? Yes. So if you see the question here, what is the question saying? What is common sense? How are common knowledge and sociology related to each other? Direct question from chapter number 1, sociology and common sense. If you see the second question, what is the relationship between sociology and history? Direct question. We have the comparison sociology, history, sociology, anthropology, political science and psychology. So direct, and in fact they have made more simple also. They have only told discuss both similarities and differences. Sometimes usually they would just ask what is the relationship. So we only had to structure it. We had to talk about both similarities and differences. Now if you see here, they have made further simple. They have only told discuss both similarities and differences. Very direct question. What is a variable in social research? What are their different types? A lot of direct and easy scoring questions. Can Merton's reference group theory be relevant in understanding identity making in digital world? Now if you see, this is a slightly challenging question. Merton has not specifically spoke about digital world. Merton has given the concept of reference group theory. Now they are asking us to apply. How can we apply this reference group theory with respect to identity making in digital world? So now with the digital world, mainly here they are referring to the social media, the mass media and the social media. With this social media, there has been this rise of new culture where now people try to associate themselves with multiple different things. So people now want new identities. Earlier, what were the identities people had? The reference groups mainly were the family. The reference group mainly was the the religion, their own culture, their own religion, their local culture, and people used to have them as the reference groups. Now people are not having their family, their religion, the nation as the reference groups anymore. People are having the reference groups from social media. Maybe you have a reference group of business people, entrepreneurs. So you now have a new identity. You want to identify yourself with that reference group. Now for you, reference group is Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and the Ambani family. So now you have a new identity. You want to identify yourself as a businessman, not other identity. So now with the social media, a lot of new identities are emerging. People want to identify themselves with the fashion industry. People want to identify themselves with maybe a sports industry, with new identities. People want to identify themselves as the vegan. A lot of people are now converting to vegan, like giving up on the non-vegetarianism. Now that is something that people are getting with the new reference groups, which are easily available in the online platforms, not in the conventional ways. Now the reference groups are also changing, and accordingly the identity making is also changing. Now these are some things which you can learn how you are going to apply the concepts with respect to the questions. So this is slightly an application based question which requires a little bit of thinking. Not a difficult question, but not a direct question. You need to little bit apply the knowledge. So we'll discuss, or we'll try to work on these type of questions more, because direct questions anyway is easy. Once you have studied, you can directly write the answer. If you see here, is the social stratification theory gender blind? So now if you see, these two are little bit of application based questions. The first three questions were straightforward. So focus will be more on these type of questions which are actually difficult to answer than the direct questions. Okay. And if you see, a lot of questions are pretty easy. What is positivism? Critically analyze the major arguments. Straightforward. If you have studied the chapter number 2, sociology as science, direct question. Highlight the main features of historical materialism as propounded by Marx. How far is this theory relevant in understanding contemporary societies? Explain. Now if you see this question is a combination of two things. The first half is a direct question. Explain the main features of historical materialism. If you have read the question, straightforward. You will talk about what is historical materialism. You will talk about the forces of production, the relations of production, relation between man and man, man and things, all those things. Direct part. But the second part is slightly challenging. They are asking how far is this theory relevant in understanding contemporary society? Now here you need to apply your knowledge. You need to try and explore the contemporary society using Marx theory. Is it applicable in the modern day? If it is applicable, to what extent it is applicable? Where it is lacking? Is everything told by Marx applicable in the modern day, or some things are not applicable? So this part is where you have to apply this theory, and these are usually the slightly challenging questions when it comes to optional. Otherwise they are more or less easily doable. So we'll try to have a combination of both the type of questions, the basic questions where you will strengthen your basics, and then application based questions also, where you will try to work on your application part. And lot of questions are pretty easy. What do you mean by reliability? Discuss their importance, direct question. Compare capability deprivation approach with that of social capital deprivation in understanding chronic poverty. Now this is slightly a challenging question actually, but we'll try to work on those also. What does it mean by capability deprivation approach and social capital deprivation? So here actually it's not a direct question from the syllabus, but usually you will be studying all these things. So when we talk about capability development, one of the important person comes is Amartya Sen, and who talks about the different types of capital? Pierre Bourdieu. So you will have to bring those thinkers, what they have said and how they are interrelated. So we'll try to explore those kind of things. And also in the course of the test series, I'll also be giving you a lot of value addition content, those kind of things. Pierre Bourdieu's 4 types of capital, Amartya Sen's capability approach, those kind of small things I'll be giving you, so that you can use those in many of these kind of questions. Okay. Other questions are pretty easy. Are pressure groups a threat to or a necessary element of democracy? Direct question. What is pressure group? You will explain how it is a threat to some extent and how they are largely beneficial. And conclusion. These kind of questions. What is hypothesis? Critically evaluate the significance of hypothesis. Direct question. Give an account on the recent trends in marriage in Indian context. How far are these different from traditional practices? One of the straightforward question that we study as a part of family marriage and kinship, the changing trends. Usually when we talk about this chapter, we talk about the changing trends of marriage. What are the new trends that we see in marriage? Yes, specific intercaste marriage is on the rise. Then there is this same-sex marriage, and then we have love marriage. Then what are the other types of marriage? There is also this very slight trend of sologamy also. Only it happened once, but it is also in the trend, we can say. So these type of marriages we'll be studying usually. Why these type of marriages emerge? What is the reason for them, and what is its implication on the society? All of these things. So all these are a lot of pretty easy questions, we can say, which you can do it. And very direct question. What would you identify as the similarities and differences in the elite theories of Mosca, Michels and Pareto? Discuss their main or crucial issues. So issues means basically they're asking for the criticism part, and what is the similarity and what is the difference and similarity issues. Now one challenging thing here is, if you see the question, on the face of it, it looks like a very easy question. The question is talking about Mosca, Michels and Pareto. Anybody who is studying politics and society would have studied their theories. But what is the challenge here in this question? If you see carefully, take a look at this, try to see what is the main challenge here in this question. Yes, they have different theories. Most importantly, what they're asking is, what would you identify as the similarities and differences and between 3 thinkers? So earlier the trend used to be asking the difference between 2 thinkers. So writing the difference between 2 thinkers is much easy. You can either divide the answer page into 2 columns, talk about the differences, or you can do it in the point format also. But now here they are talking about 3 thinkers. So more or less writing it in the tabular column is not easy now with the limited space. So you have to go for the point format. So now if you are comfortable with the tabular column, now you need to adopt to point format. That is one. Second, they are asking you to talk about both similarities and differences of all the 3 thinkers. So which becomes more challenging. And apart from that, they are also asking what are the crucial issues. So that means with every study, you have to talk about at least 1 or 2 drawbacks, the criticism part. Now, content wise is not a problem, but space will be a challenge. You have only 3 pages. You can write this for easily 5 pages. So now how are you going to concise everything to 3 pages? If suppose you have more content, which point are you going to leave? Which point are you going to compulsory write? All these things you have to be doing on the spot in the exam hall within that given time. That is something we will be focusing on, these type of things in the test series. Okay. Most of the times what we see with the students is, in these type of questions, students actually score less, not score more. The question looks very easy on the face, but what happens is, when they see these names, Mosca, Michels and Pareto, students feel very happy and they start writing and end up taking almost like 2.5 pages for this part only. Then they realize that there is one more part also, but they do not have space. They have only around half a page space. So they end up compromising on this part. No matter how well you have written for this part, whatever marks is there for this will not be completely given. So these are the things that we have to be working on. Space management also. How much space are we going to give for each part of the answer? Are we going to give 1 page or half a page or 3/4 of the page? All these things we'll be trying to work on with the answer writing part. And critically analyze the significance of informal sector in the economy of developing societies. Now, pretty direct question only, but what is important? Specifically they are saying developing societies. So we cannot take the examples of all the countries. It has to be specific to developing societies. That means countries like India, Brazil, China, these kind of countries, from where we'll take the examples, and then they are saying critically analyze the sociological significance. So you will bring both the aspects, the arguments in favor, why they are important, and what are the challenges with them, these kind of things. So what we can broadly say is that with sociology, more or less the questions are predictable and they're doable also. There will be rare cases where there will be some bouncer questions where we might not know exactly what to write, or we might not have sufficient content, but otherwise in general the questions are easy and doable also. What will be the main challenge? In paper 1, you have to be very strong in your concepts. Without having conceptual clarity, without being strong in concepts, you cannot be scoring well. Lot of questions are very much conceptual oriented. Now coming to paper 2, what is the main thing with respect to paper 2? What is the common or the main challenge that people face usually? Lot of questions will be from current affairs. More than current affairs, lot of questions will be GS type of questions. So if you see here, for example, few questions are specific, like for example, textual perspective is important in understanding Indian social system. Pretty much from the syllabus only. They are basically asking about Indology, especially the classical Indology, which talks about the text, reading from the text. But if you see a lot of questions, for example, if you see here question number 1C, according to you, which social reform movement has played the most effective role in uplifting the status of women? You can expect this question in GS also. The question is about social reform movement, how they have helped in improving the status of women. How are you going to make a sociological answer? That will be the main challenge. You can take up any reform movement. That is not the importance. They are not worried about which social reform movement you are talking about. You can talk about Brahmo Samaj movement. You can talk about Arya Samaj. You can talk about Jyotiba Phule's Satyashodak Samaj. Any movement for that matter. That is not their concern. What is their concern? How you are going to write a sociological answer. You cannot end up writing like a GS answer. It improved education, it improved their livelihood, it improved social condition, social status. Those things will become very GS type. So this is where you have to apply your sociological knowledge, both of paper 1 as well as of paper 2. So this is something which you have to be working more on this paper. Okay. So there will be lot of questions. So if you yes. So it can be. Definitely we'll have scope to bring both the sides. So there we will not have any restrictions. So there is no restriction on that part. It's not that we have to say that it has completely helped in upliftment or it has not been of any use also. So you can divide your answer into both the parts. You can say, and when you divide also, it need not be equal also. You can write like 5 points talking about the upliftment part. You can say in multiple aspects they have been progressive. However, there have been few areas where it is lacking also. There has been rural urban divide. These movements have been largely for the upper caste women, not effective for the lower caste women, and those kind of things. Not with respect to every religion it has been equally progressive. So you can bring 2-3 points where you can say they have not been effective also. So that scope will be there. Yes. Yes. So here when we say development, we'll be broadly focusing on the aspects of the social status in terms of the education of women, in terms of the health and nutrition, these aspects mainly. That is what will mean development here. Yeah. And uh, how do you how would you appropriate to characterize G.S. Gore as a practitioner of theoretical pluralism? Direct question. G.S. Gore and his work. Do you think that in a society like Indian, orthogenic changes take place through differentiation? Do you observe continuities in the orthogenetic process? Elaborate your answer. So these are a little bit more like specific questions, like we do study orthogenetic, endogenetic, great tradition, little tradition with respect to the topic of modernization. So these are questions where you can actually write good answers when you have the good conceptual clarity. But there will be few questions, like for example this question: how same-sex marriage are responsible for population dynamics in India? Discuss. Now this is not mentioned anywhere in our syllabus. We only have the topic of marriage, and we talk about same-sex marriage with respect to changing trends. Now they are going one step ahead. What they are doing is they are linking two topics: same-sex marriage as a part of family marriage kinship with population dynamics. So how are you going to interlink? So what will be the implication of that? So this becomes a little bit more challenging, and apart from application part, you still have to make sure it is also having a sociological touch. We cannot completely generalize it. So these are the questions where we'll try to focus more with respect to the paper 2 part. Okay. So otherwise there are some questions which are actually pretty direct also. What are the main features of Indian new middle class? How is it different from a old middle? Like a very much static question. You can easily write. Do you think that new economic reforms of British rule have disrupted the old economic system? All this mainly with respect to the land reform systems, the impact on Jajmani system, how Indian economy shifted from the partial feudal system to partial capital system. All these things will be, you would have studied also basically, and you can write good answers also. There will be some questions where you have to focus more on the application part. That is what we will be focusing mainly. See here, this is what we are discussing. Briefly explain G.P. Murdoch's contribution to study of kinship. Now this is part of paper 1, not paper 2, but they have asked you to write in paper 2 also. So what they are telling indirectly is you have to be more flexible. You cannot be too rigid thinking that you will apply paper 1 only for paper 1 and paper 2 only for paper 2. So that is something we will work on here with this part. But otherwise some questions, yes, are little bit challenging. So for example, if you see here, discuss the social basis of political mobilization in independent India. Has some change occurred in this during the last 60-70 years? So what is the social base of mobilization, political mobilization? The identity politics, the social base can be with respect to caste, with respect to the region, these kind of things, religion, rural India, urban India, and they are also asking, has some change occurred? So now this becomes a very subjective part. It will not have any standard answer. It will vary from every individual. So now it will depend on how well you are going to justify. And this is where you also have to bring little bit of thinkers also. The Hindutva politics and the different studies by different sociologists. Like for example, Andrew Bettel's study on Indian politics. Even G.S. Gore makes a reference to Indian politics, and then M.N. Srinivas makes a reference, and Dipankar Gupta talks about it. Then we have Rajini Kothari who talks about it. So now on the face you cannot think of it quickly. You might end up writing in general, but you have to think, take a pause, think, and then make it a sociological answer. These things are mainly the challenging part. A lot of students actually score less in paper 2 because of this. The moment they see these things, they will go on writing like a normal GS answer. Increasing youth participation and increasing women participation, increasing correlation, government, these kind of things, which will only become like GS answer. When you apply those thinkers, that is when they actually become more sociological. Okay, so and this is one more question: what are the major problems faced by labor migrants while working in informal sector? These kind of questions will be more in the paper 2. When you see it, it will look like very easy question, but when you think it is an easy question, that means you are more thinking on the lines of GS. Only when you have actually studied optional sociology paper 2 well, then you can actually think and write a good sociological answer, which can actually make a difference in your paper. Okay, so lot of things are there. We'll try to work on it. We have good amount of time, more or less we have 5 months from now. So in that 5 months we can actually make a very good work. We'll try to work on all the things, try to strengthen the basic concepts first, then work on the application part, and then also work on the analytical part, get good examples from the current affairs, try to come up with some new concepts and new thinkers also, which can be like a value addition. All of this will be like a part of the test series. Okay, any doubts you guys have? Mm-hmm.
So I make notes. So when I make notes, when I write the answer, I try to confine it to what is written in my notes. So what I've done as of now is I've just abandoned my notes. I've just kept it aside. I'm practicing more with my free thoughts. I'm trying to apply the question.
Okay.
So how should I develop the notes in the coming days? Should that be a fact based or example based or case study based? Because I have a base material. So
see, first when we make the notes first time, so it should be like the base notes only. So we cannot make like a comprehensive or a holistic notes in the first go only. So that we should not try for that also. Try to make a basic notes, making sure that all the topics in the syllabus are covered and everything has at least 2 pages of content. Once you have that basic notes, then you will start making it more comprehensive. So that will be like a continuous process. Like for example, suppose you are studying the chapter of politics and society. You have made notes on the changing trends. Maybe somewhere later, when you're reading some other chapter, you get one new example or one new point. You can now come back and just add that point. So what is the idea is that when you make notes, have little bit space for each of the topic. Maybe leave one page with that topic, or preferably make your notes in the pages only than the books, so that you can do constant value addition, and that will be like a continuous process. But most important thing is when you make notes, you cannot make an interlinked holistic notes. It has to be topic specific only. However, in your writing answer, your thinking should not be confined to that notes only. It should be more broader. You have to think from more broader perspective. A lot of questions will require multi-dimensional answers. Maybe we are writing an answer with respect to work and economic life. They might have asked, what is the changing trend in modern work? Now, nowhere you might have studied about Max Weber with respect to work and economic life, but you can bring his concept of rationality. The modern work is more characterized by rationality. So that is something you can take from the chapter number 4. So you can take Karl Marx concept, how he talks about alienation of work in the modern day. Like that, you have to apply more broadly the concepts. Maybe even thinker of paper 2 has said something with respect to modern work. Maybe a feminist from India, Veena Das or somebody has Leela Dubey, Vandana Shiva, somebody has spoke about the feminization of poverty. You can bring that also, how modern work is leading to feminization of poverty. So that way you will try to make your answer more interlinked and broader. That should be done with the answer writing part itself rather than the notes making part. Okay. More practice. With more practice, it will come definitely. Okay. So, any other doubts? Yes. So, with that, we'll end the session. So, we'll get started with the test series. First test will be on 12th. Yes, definitely. So, at the rate Vikas, Vikas 25243. So, online also, those who are attending online, if you guys have any doubt with respect to the test series, you can text me here. I'll be able to clarify those doubts. Okay. Any other doubts? Yes. So with that, we'll be ending the session and we'll meet with the first test. Thank you all.